Okay, bevel cuts. Yes, there's another wheel on the saw stop. Yes, you could unlock it and start cranking away to set your 45-degree angle. But notice how if you do this too soon, you'll be cranking the riving knife and the kickback pawls over with you. And at a 45-degree angle, those pawls are going to crash into the top of the table saw, bend, or break off. So let's tuck them up out of the way before we go over. Now you're in a good state to unlock and crank away at the tilt wheel until you get up to 45 degrees. Take a look at the red indicator and make sure that it points right at the 45-degree line. Make sure that your blade is leaning away from your rip fence. Now let's talk about this blade that has been tipped over. Yes, I've removed all the guards. That's simply so that you can see the blade tipped over really easily. Your material is going to have a tendency to ride up that angled blade, and so we need to hold it down. So find the featherboard rip fence mount and insert it into the groove at the top of the fence across from the blade. Then find the featherboard and take note of the arrow pointing in the direction that you'll be feeding your material through the saw, and notice how the feathers themselves lean in that direction. Find those two black rectangles on the featherboard and insert them into the groove on the featherboard mount. Then tighten the two thumb screws just a bit and find your material. You're going to want to put the feathers on top of your material and then slide your material out from under them and let the feathers come down a little bit lower than the top of your material. About 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch. Now tighten the thumb screws nice and tight, but notice how the whole mechanism can rock up at the front or up at the back. I need to hold this whole thing securely to the rip fence. So get 2 bar clamps and place the bar into those remaining grooves. Slide the clamp closed and turn the screw until the clamp is tight. Once you have both clamps on, you shouldn't be able to lift the mechanism up out of the rip fence anymore. Good. Now slide the rip fence towards the blade nice and close so that you can confirm that your contraption does not bump into the riving knife or the saw guard. Now pull the rip fence away from the blade so that you have plenty of room to slide your material through as a dry run. You're looking for those feathers to bend up onto your material and then plink off the end of your material, almost making musical notes. Mark your material at 1 inch and put the mark on the face that will first encounter the blade. Then adjust your rip fence until your mark aligns perfectly with the inside of the tooth of the blade that's going to cut it. Now find the kickback pawls that we tucked up out of the way earlier and drop them back down onto the table. Now grab your push stick, activate power to the blade, and send it through slowly and steadily. With your hand, you're keeping some pressure against the rip fence before the blade, just like a rip cut, until it's time to let go, and then you're just using the push stick to drive it all the way through. You are the feed force. The featherboard is keeping it down slowly and steadily all the way through. Congrats on making your first bevel cut. Now take off both clamps, undo the featherboard from the mount, take out the mount and put it back where you found it. Slide the fence away from the blade. Tilt the blade back to 0 degrees, straight up and down. Lower the blade down into the table and drop the guard. Grab your clamps and put them back on the rack of clamps and park the whole rack back in its nook. Power off the main switch on the saw. Turn off the dust collection system. Find the dust broom and pan and sweep up any sawdust that didn't get collected automatically. And you are done. Congratulations.